All right, here we go. So we have first question of this week's Edulastic quiz. Use the ruler in Sketchpad to draw two quadrilaterals, one that is a trapezoid and one that is not a trapezoid. Well, I know a trapezoid is a shape with at least one set of parallel lines. That's the definition that we use. So I need a shape that has at least one set of parallel sides. Now I could cheat on this. I could even use this shape drawing tool right there. There's a square. A square is a trapezoid because it's all of the different quadrilaterals within the hierarchy. That's kind of the cheat. The other way to do it is just to take this tool and I'm going to draw a slanting line. This line's going to be straight. And my last thing is that I want to just, that's probably not quite parallel, but Mr. Howes would have given you the point if you'd done something like that, okay? Over here, I want something that has no parallel lines, so it's easy. I just got to explain the attribute that makes a quadrilateral a trapezoid. For each attribute of a quadrilateral listed in the table, check the columns of the shape where the attribute is always true. So it's got to always be true, not sometimes true. So there's exactly one pair of parallel sides. Well, I know a rhombus and a rectangle do have parallel sides, but they both have two sets of parallel sides. So this is exactly one, and it's got to be always true. It's never true for either, so that's neither. There are two pairs of parallel sides. I just said they both have two sets of parallel sides, so that would be true for both. No sides are of an equal length. The defining quality of a rhombus is it is a shape where all the sides are the same. So it's definitely not true for that. And the rectangle, well, because there's two sets of parallel sides, that means those parallel sides must be equally distanced apart. So a rectangle always has two sets of equal sides. So that's true for neither. All four sides must be of an equal length. That's true for a rhombus. A square is a rectangle where all the sides are of equal length, but it's not always true for rectangles. So that's only true for the rhombus. There's exactly one right angle. A rectangle, its defining feature is that it has four right angles. So it's not true that it has one right angle. It has to have four right angles. And the rhombus, because of the fact that it has equal sides, if I have one right angle, they would all have to be right angles. So that's true for neither. All four angles must be right angles. I just said that's the defining quality of a rectangle. But it's not always true for a rhombus. Moving on. The kite has four equal side lengths. Well, that's sometimes true because a square is a kite, as is a rhombus. A kite is a shape where it has two sets of equal sides that are next to each other. In fact, let's have a look on the old internet. Look right here. So, like, here's a kite, and it has these two sides next to each other the same length. These two sides are next to each other the same length. So this is there four equal sides. Well, this side isn't equal to that side, so it's not always true. But it is definitely sometimes true, because if I had a square where all the sides were the same, it would still be a kite, because the equal sides would be next to one another. Alright, a square has four equal side lengths. A square is a shape that has equal sides and equal lengths, so that's always true. A square has four equal side lengths. A square is a shape which has four equal angles and four equal sides, so that's always true. A rhombus with four right angles is a square. Well, I just said that a square is a shape where all of the angles are the same and all the sides are the same. A rhombus is a shape where the side lengths are the same. So that's always true, because if I had a shape with equal sides and equal angles, it must be a square. A square is also a kite. Well, we just looked at a kite and we remembered that the definition of a kite is that it has two pairs of equal sides that are next to each other. All of the side lengths on a square are the same length, so it must have two sets of sides that are the same length next to one another, so that's always true. A parallelogram is also a square. That is sometimes true. And the reason why it's sometimes is because a square is a parallelogram. It has two sets of parallel sides, but I have parallelograms that are not squares. A kite is a quadrilateral. Well, you might find kites in a store that don't look like a quadrilateral, but in terms of geometry, that is always true, because a kite is a name given to a quadrilateral shape. The sum of the interior angles of a kite is 360 degrees. That's always true. All quadrilaterals angles add up to 360 degrees. It's just a fact to know. The sides of a kite are all different lengths. Well, we just said that the defining feature, just to go back to this picture one more time, these sides are the same and these sides are the same. So that means that all kites have to have some sides of the same length. So they can't, all the sides can't be different. So that's never true. The sides of a square are all different lengths. That's never true, because the defining feature. Alright, so here it tells me that this shape is a rhombus. It wants me to find this side, WZ. Well, it's a rhombus, so they're all the same length, so that's 4. This is asking me what is XWZ, so that means this angle here, W. And we know in a rhombus that the angle opposite this angle must be the same, so those two are 100, and it actually asks me what WZY is. Well, I know right there, that's 100. This is asking me what is ZWX. Well, these two also must be the same. I have 100 plus 100, that's 200. So this plus this must equal 160, so that if I did this plus this plus this plus this, it equals 360. So each of those angles, we'll do 160 divided by 2, which is 80. It's all of the other names that could be used to describe this figure. Well, it's a rhombus, but it's also a quadrilateral. It's also a parallelogram because it has 2 sets of parallel sides. It's trapezoid because it has at least 1 set of parallel sides. And finally, last but not least, it's a kite. As we've clarified many times, I submit, and it says I have 3 out of 6. That's because Mr. House hasn't yet graded these 2 questions. I am Mr. House, I know I got them right. Really, a lot of this is you've got to memorize the facts about each shape and then use them. Alright, have a great day.